Have you ever wondered what it would be like to live a back to the future life? Where you would be able to see into the future so that decisions you make now, you know what the effect is going to be. Hello, everyone. This is Marv Overman from Retire with Respect. And today I want to have a conversation with you on how to see into your financial future so you can avoid going broke in retirement by using computer simulation techniques that I learned while working at NASA. I say I want to have a conversation. You can see I have slides, but I've chosen to use slides simply so I can demonstrate and show you the effects of what I'm talking about, because otherwise it would be too hard to visualize. But I wanted to make it somewhat as informal as we can, given this setting. The computer simulations are a difference between gaining visibility into your retirement future or making choices by using simply intelligent guessing. And I base that based upon my last 20 years I have worked with computer simulations, and I've seen how they are able to do tremendously better results in making decisions now based upon what do I think is going to happen in the future and being able to demonstrate that. And I can see it in my own life where a little insight could have gone a long way to how my life has turned out so far. Nearly closing in on our goal, self-sufficient retirement, when bam, sucker punched with a devastating blow of a Joe Frazier overhand. Temporarily knocked on my butt and staggering to pick myself up as I wandered through the next several months in a trance trying to figure out if we could still retire with respect, or would we have to swallow our pride and go live with our daughters. I've worked my whole life to provide for my family. But when I was confronted with a significant family crisis, I chose to sacrifice my military retirement to fix the crisis. After all, I thought, I have plenty of time to save to replace the retirement, right? Well, you know the saying about good intentions. But now is 2010, and I was at the pinnacle of my professional career with a dream job at NASA, working with inspiring people who were all figuring out how could we launch a new spacecraft, fly to the moon, build a habitat on the moon to learn how to live in outer space, and then on to explore Mars. As incredible as the people were, I was enslaved by the sense of doing meaningful work on a program that was bigger than life, contributing to the spirit that lives in each of us. Then, the blow. The program was canceled. Politics. Sure, I had made mistakes in my life that robbed us of our nest egg we had planned. But I'm thinking the $500,000 that was left on the contract will be fine. But now it was gone. Wiped out. Since the contract had 3 years left before completion, we had no work in the pipeline. And with the economy in the toilet in 2010 and 2011, we couldn't get any new work. Being in my 60s, there weren't many job openings that pay well. So I've staggered and struggled having to use up the savings that we earmarked for retirement. And then it happened. My wife was sitting at a stop sign. It was hit broadside right in the driver's side door, causing several physical injuries that resulted in 3 years of surgeries and rehabilitation. I struggled with how to use my time. Should I be working or helping her? I felt like I was failing her, so I chose caring for her first while trying to earn enough money picked up a job in sales to pay the bills. But then I ended up sacrificing earning the money that I needed to put into retirement. But it was worth it because our relationship is closer, but still it wasn't working out for the long haul. I needed a new approach from focusing on getting new clients and sales. Suddenly I realized I've got tools that emphasize my strengths. I could use expertise I learned from consulting at NASA to run computer simulations of my retirement dreams and finances to give me insight on how decisions I was making now would probably turn out in the future. And then I realized I could not only help myself, but also other people. So I developed a plan to help other people and guide people to whether they were clients or not. I could help them more people because I wouldn't need to first convince them to hire me as an advisor. I could charge a modest consulting fee, teach them to use the simulator, and advise them on various investment options, even if they weren't my clients from an advising perspective. In some cases, people might want to hire me to manage their investments, but it wasn't required. But my compliance officer didn't like my plan. I had a conflict of interest. They said if I charged a fee to help people to figure out the best alignment of their funds, and then also receive compensation if they hired me to manage their funds. So I ended up creating a service from my separate company, Retire with Respect, where I would charge a small one-time fee to give people access to their retirement simulator that would also include personal coaching. I was then free to manage the portfolio of those people who hired me through my company, Business Management Solutions. Putting my client's interest ahead of my own interest means just what it says. Now I'm free to spend time it takes to help more people live hopefully and confidently in the future. The bottom line is that I want for my family, and that I want for you is simply this: to be able to retire with respect. So you're probably thinking, so what's your definition of a simulation, right? I mean, you hear about simulators and stuff, but so let's take a look at an example. You're a NASA project engineer, and you're working on the program of a human flight to Mars. So you're in charge of resources. So you want to run a simulation down at the bottom where it says run a simulation of resources. You want to know how much food, water, and oxygen will I have? What do I have enough if I wanted to be able to complete a mission? All the way from going from the Earth on the left over to Mars and possibly back. So you have a timeline. To run a simulation, you want to know my start of my mission and major events. Maybe you're going to stop off at the moon and the end of mission, which could mean either just landing at Mars or landing and then or coming back all the way back to Earth. And there are some events that happen along the way. You want to launch into orbit and you want to land on Mars, for example. And you might have some unexpected damage, things that could happen along the way that maybe are not normal, like what happened with Apollo 13. So you set up and run multiple scenarios. You run a scenario that says, how much food do I have? How much of my resources, food, water, and oxygen do I have if I don't replenish anything? And based upon how many astronauts we plan to have in the module, then you could calculate how much we would need. Or how much would you run scenarios if you set up a way to reconstitute or be able to create more food on the way? Or you want to be able to perhaps a scenario where you stop off at the International Space Station and restock, or that you have the moon, you have some stockpiled on the moon that you can add after you launch. But anyway, you have all these multiple scenarios and you want to figure out which ones are most likely to occur so that you can know how to plan best. Well, that's very similar then to, let's look at one where it's it's your life in retirement, and you want to run a simulation on your resources, how much savings and income you have, and how much expenses are you going to use. You have a timeline, you have a start date for your retirement, whether it is one that you plan in the future or one that has already occurred. You have some personal major events that may want to happen. You want to take trips, you want to be able to do certain things in life, and that's your goals, your plans. And you have an estimated life. Now, what we do in these simulations, we say, okay, your estimated death, typically we say age 90, unless you want to do something different. But you also have some events that are uncontrollable. Perhaps you have a stock market crash where you lose 50% of your savings. What would happen if that happened, like in 2008? What would happen in the future if it happened? What are some healthcare crises? Perhaps you maybe need, like my wife, all of a sudden she's in an automobile accident, totally unplanned, yet it changed and altered the course of our whole retirement. Not only for the last 3 years, but really projecting out into what we'd planned for the future. And you have tax changes. Oh my gosh, 2019, what a year of change. We're implementing the 2017 Tax Cut and Jobs Act because most of the provisions you have to apply them in your 2019 taxes that you're going to be doing. So then on top of that, this president signed on December 20th, 2019, the Secure Act. And the Secure Act is the first major changes to retirement since 2008. And so all of those take effect January 20th. So now you got to figure out not only what am I going to change in 2019 for my tax return, but how am I going to have to change for my future? So we want to run some scenarios, and we'll run multiple scenarios of saying, well, what happens if a stock market crash? What happens? So that you can see what are your plans? What is the chances are that you're going to run out of money before you retire? So you're probably thinking, how does this help you personally, right? I mean, that's nice about all that. But while your situation is unique to you, it has a lot in common with other people. And so we can kind of group some things together while also accounting for your specific situation of your savings, your income, your personal net worth, your goals, and things like that. So let's show you a couple of scenarios. Steve and Sarah are married. Current ages, they're 64, and life expectancy will run the scenario till age 90. Retirement age, they plan to retire at age 67. So they have a salary of $110,000 and $75,000 respectively, and they plan their monthly expenses to retire at $9,000 a month because initially they're expecting to kind of, like most people, continue their current lifestyle about what they're planning, even though in their retirement, even though they have no major new income coming in, $185,000 a year in this case, but that's what their planning is. In their invested assets, they have $938,000 in qualified, which means that they have not paid the taxes on it yet. And $81,000 non-qualified, that's savings that has already been paid. The taxes have already been paid. So we run a scenario. In this case, we'll always run 1,000 different scenarios. And they found that 740 of the scenarios had the highest chance of having enough money to live to age 94. And so the way that shows is these are 1,000 scenarios. You see this dark blue lines in the middle? That's where the 740 scenarios operate. And you can see where it drops off. It stays relatively level, but it drops off at the end. And that's because we plan in the scenarios that the majority of people have a healthcare crisis late in life. And so we plan that there's going to be more expenses paid out to care for health, such as assisted living of some level. It's difficult to see, but there's some light lines right across down in here on the bottom. And that shows that there are some scenarios where you could run low on funds and actually run out of money at age 79. Then there's other scenarios up here in the top where there were a few scenarios that says, oh my gosh, you're just going to keep increasing. You're going to blow the top off because the economy is so great or whatever. But the highest probability is it's going to be along these darker blue lines. And so we're looking at this major line in the middle as the median effect. So we want to look into scenarios and say, in this retirement analysis, how could we increase the probability of you having enough money? So you're planning on retirement, that you have no major new income. How can we adjust some things to increase the chances are? In this case, we're going to take 30% of the $983,000 of tax-deferred money, and we're going to put it into a guaranteed income account that is contractually obligated to pay 7% rate of return for 10 years. Now, if you look at the rule of 72, it says that if you take the rate of return and you divide it into the number 72, you will get how many years it takes to double your money. Well, if we put 7% into 72, it means that you will double your money in 10 years. So the 30% that we take out is going to become 60%, will double in 10 years. Now, what that does is that increases the chance of 85% because we can take the 70% that we have left over and we can use to live on that for the next 10 years, plus the money that you're earning and however. And then let that double up so that you now have 60% that you originally started with for the last 10 years, beyond the next 10 years. So what that does is it increases it from 74% to 85% chance of success. You remember how I told you late in life we have healthcare crisis. So what if we increase the probability by realigning some funds into a self-funded long-term healthcare savings account? By that, I mean, maybe we take $100,000. And I call it self-funded because you know how normally when you buy an insurance premium policy, you end up paying premiums. And you think, oh, that's great, I have it. But if you don't use it, you almost feel gypped because, I paid all that money into premiums and I get nothing to show for it. Or if you used it and it's great, it was money well spent. Well, if a self-funded, let's say you took $100,000 and you placed it into a self-funded account. By self-funded means that you now have three options. You've taken your own money and you're not paying premiums on it. You're just realigning your money into a different account. The way that this account would work is you have money available if you need it for healthcare, and you don't have to wait to the end. You can spend it for healthcare as you go along. But typically we can say your $100,000, you could have up to, say, maybe $270,000 available for healthcare later on in life, presuming that you don't spend it all before then. So that would mean that you would then have significant more money available for long term that you had because you self-funded it. Well, let's say that unfortunately you passed before you used the money. Well, the money is also set up into a life insurance policy so that, in fact, your beneficiaries get all of your 100,000 and plus, in some cases, more that they get, so that your money is not lost. It goes to your beneficiaries. Well, the third scenario says, well, what about if I don't want to keep the money in there at all? I want to move it back out. Well, you certainly have that right to do that. You pull the money back out, and what you lost would be what money you'd get all $100,000 back in this scenario. And you would be able to then have all of that money available to spend however you want to. If you haven't paid taxes on it, you'd pay taxes on it. But the main thing that your cost would be what you would have gained had you had invested the money. But at least you didn't lose a lot of premium money and end up just pouring money down a hole. What did this do? This increased it from 74%, not 85%, but up to 96% probability that you're going to have enough money to live on in retirement. So this is an example of how we can realign some money. We can run scenarios and say, what does it look like in the future? What is the probability? But we can do all of this analysis. Each year, you also have your tax estimates. In this case, we're showing what are the estimates for the year 2020. And it gives you an exact tax form. Now, it'll also be able to recalculate. If you make some scenario changes, it'll automatically recalculate and say, would be what your taxes are. Now, you see right here, it's difficult to see, but you see the year 2020, there's a drop-down box right there that actually will drop down, and you can say, okay, if I change this scenario, what will I pay in the year 2030? Or 2035. And then you can make changes and do what if things, and you can see not only what does it do to my probability of success, but what is the cap on my taxes. So that's all the benefit of having then the taxes. So let's look at another scenario. This one is a younger couple, Mike and Amanda. Their ages 46 and 44, and we're going to run their scenarios until age 90. The retirement age they plan is age 65, which is a little before full age retirement, but that's okay. They have $350,000 in salaries and $100,000, and they're planning for their monthly expenses to be about $10,000. They have $500,000 in qualified, that is money that is saved that has not been paid. The taxes have not been paid yet, and they have $500,000 where taxes have already been paid. Now we'll look at a little bit of a different kind of thing. This is a way to save on a tax strategy, and we'll kind of show right now if they have a taxable account, money that they have already it's total savings that is money that is already been taxes have been paid. What would it be if they changed to having a tax smart saving strategy of taking that $70,000, putting $7,000 into a health savings account. They can help pay for their expenses beforehand now, but also save into the future if they don't use it. Put pre-taxed into $19,000 into a pre-tax 401k. Then take $6,000 and put into what's called a backdoor Roth, which means that it's a way to put money into a Roth IRA. Or there's a mega Roth, another strategy for using a Roth. They put $30,000 and keep $8,000 into their account. They would still have a total amount of $70,000. What that would do by using this smart, it shows that it increased from 69% to 77% simply by realigning your money. You're not using any money, you're not adding any more money to it, but you're simply realigning it so that you're saving more on taxes. And that's one chance of being able then to be able to increase your probabilities. This would be the high income strategy. Using the smart one, it would decrease the total taxes by $836,000 because of the taxes. Now here it shows you this is what they're paying while they're in their working years. This drops off when they retire. And then they have higher amount of taxes, but then it increases again when they start paying the taxes on the money that they have deferred from taxes. And so it puts them into a higher tax bracket, and we'll look at that in a minute. But this is where their taxes would be going. You can see where it continues to go up, and they're continually paying as we're going along. But as they get older, they pay more money they have to pay more money in taxes. Here's another key aspect, looking at tax brackets. This is a high tax bracket because they're both working. And then after Mike retires at 65, it drops down because we don't have his $350,000 income. But then you have Amanda's here. And then when Amanda retires, they both drop down for a period where they're in a very, very low, because they don't have a lot of income, so they don't pay much in taxes until they get to age 70. And then at age 70, in the old laws, they would have to start taking required minimum distributions, plus they would start taking Social Security at that point in time. Now, under the new law, and we'll talk about it in a minute, the new Law Secure Act, one of the changes in the Secure Act was the fact that the required minimum distribution age is no longer 70 and a half. You can wait until age 72 before you have to be required to start paying taxes. But you can see their tax bracket gets very, very high as they're going along because of all of the taxes that they have to pay. Now let's take a look. If they were to be able to, during this lull period, if they took some of their money and paid the taxes and pulled it out of a tax deferred and actually paid more in taxes during this time period, sure, they don't have the lowest amount that they had. They're paying more in taxes. But what that does is it gives them to when they start having to require to take money out and they take Social Security, the tax brackets do not rise nearly as high, because there's not as much income coming in the later years because they've already pulled the money out, and it's not being taxable income. Under this strategy, they would save over $1 million by tax adjusted in portfolio rather than the pre-withdrawal. So what this means is that they're not the compounding effect of paying more in taxes. By using a simple strategy like this, they end up actually way ahead in their life. But using a retirement simulator, your personalized retirement simulator, we will tailor to yours. It allows you now to see, well, if I did pay that, what would it happen? And so you could set up a strategy to do that. Now, I mentioned the 2019 Secure Act, and it has a change in how inherited IRAs are taxed. An inherited IRA is if you have an IRA that you haven't paid the taxes on yet, it's a pre-taxed, and you give it to your spouse, then that's not inherited. That's called a spousal IRA. But if you want to give it to your children directly and not to your spouse, for example, then it's called an inherited tax. Now, the old law said that the child could then stretch out paying the taxes on the IRA from their current age all the way to about age 84. In this case, we showed in the solid line would be how the growth of that, originally it's around $800,000, and what the growth would be throughout that child's lifetime by them being able to stretch out, because the taxes that they're paid, money they're taking out to pay taxes on, is less than how much money is being put in based upon the growth of the IRA. Well, the new law changed, and it said that you no longer can stretch it out over to till age 86. You must pay the taxes within the first 10 years. So at age 46, by the age of 56, they're having to pay all of the taxes. Well, their savings can go up, and it may continue going up for a year, but then when they retire, all of a sudden now the savings goes down much quicker. So here, while they had over $2 million available throughout their life, the money is run out. And so that can make a significant difference. And we can show you what it would look like for your specific situation by using a simulation. Do you think having this insight into running your simulations and your personalized retirement simulator would work for you? So let me ask you, how many of you are intrigued by what we've just been talking about? Or how many of you are feeling a little overwhelmed because we've covered so much? It's kind of like drinking from a fire hose. If it's okay with you, I'd like to spend a few minutes going over a very special offer I created to help you implement your personalized retirement simulator so that you can see into your retirement future. Would that be okay? You're probably thinking you already have an advisor who you like, right? So why would you change to what I'm talking about? Well, actually, you don't need to change advisors. The retirement simulator will actually give you an unbiased second opinion based upon the computer simulations that we run. that you can share with your advisors. What it really gives you is more insight into your own retirement future so that you have more input rather than simply looking at the scenarios that your advisor may come up with. So you have a more informed future rather than just intelligent guessing. You might be thinking you can't get started with this because you don't know enough about your retirement needs. Well, here's why that's a mistake that will hold you back from success. This system actually helps you find out what are your greatest retirement needs, because when we're running a simulation, you can take a look at, well, what are your needs? What are your healthcare needs? What are your living expense needs in the future based upon scenarios? And it helps you find the best solution. It's really perfect for that. You're probably thinking you're not a techie, right? You know, you're not into computers, Marv. You're talking about a computer simulation. What are you, nuts? Well, actually, you don't build a simulation. All you do is put in your information and let the computer do its work. So you have a profile, and you have a profile on here, and you're going to be putting money into what's in for your family. You're going to describe who's in your family, what their scenarios are, what age they are, how much they're making, things that you saw in the profile that we did before. If you figure my expenses, what are my expenses now, or what are they projected to be in my retirement? How much savings do I have now? What savings do I project to have by the time I do retire? What income do I have now? What income will I have in retirement? What are my goals? What do I want to do with my life now? What do I want to do when we retire? And your net worth, which covers a lot of these things that you're showing here. So you're just simply going to put in this information, and I'll help you work with that. And then we will just run scenarios based upon that. As we do some what ifs, we'll make some changes to your profile, and we'll be able to see, well, if I do that, make that change, how will that happen? So your personalized retirement simulator consists of a balance sheet. Anytime you turn it on, you'll be able to see, as of today, what is my balance sheet. We will automate some of the inputs so that things are updated. What are your bank accounts? What are your savings accounts? So that you will be able to have a one-stop shop place where you can go in and look at what is my current balance sheet based upon the current value of my investments, current stuff, and everything else. You have the profile that we talked about that can change to show what will changes be like if I make some changes. And you end up with the retirement score that we talked about, where you went from 74% to 96%. You create a retirement plan because you'll be able to say, this is how I'm planning to spend my money out, and what it looks like, not only graphically, but what does it look like from a multiple numbers perspective. You have your retirement taxes. This is what my taxes are projected to be. If I make changes, what would it be? And it has an individual tax forms that be able to see what it would look like from an estimate of them as you're going forward. Now, if you were to get this personalized retirement simulator yourself, it's one of the top 5 in the nation. You would pay $1,500 per year, and you could get all of that yourself. And I would certainly let you know where to get that and help you get that. But you would pay per year. And if you lived a normal, say we calculate a 20-year retirement, it would cost you a total of $30,000 over the life of your retirement. You're probably thinking you have never done anything like this, right? Well, actually, you're not alone. Even if you've never done anything like this, I'll make sure that your personalized retirement simulator is set up correctly. Because we'll start off with a 4-week masterclass, and where we will start off with a 5-day quick start program, of course, and these are the 5 things we talked about in your portfolio. And you will need to spend maybe 15 to 20 minutes per day as you're going to be able to enter information into your portfolio. And I'll have a class for that to explain how do you do that. And be able to answer questions. Then in weeks 2, 3, and 4, we'll do some scenarios. Here's an example. Maybe you want to do some different scenarios. We'll look at these. What is an income or retirement scenario? What are health and tax scenarios? So at the end of the 4 weeks, you will have the basis of how you're going to use your retirement simulation. The value of this course is $1,297. So your total first year value is $2,797. But I said that I would want to make sure that I want to make sure that you're successful. I've been in computers a long time, yet every time I get into a new program, it seems like at the beginning, oh yeah, piece of cake, I just put the money in there, right? Well, you get into it, and what happens? You get in like, well, what about this situation? Or where do I put this money here? Or where do I put it there? Well, I will give you a 30-minute personal session. We'll do it after the first week so that you'll have the portfolio profile in. And I'll answer your questions, and we'll make sure that your profile is set up correctly. and make sure that everything is set. And what are some of your current retirement scores? And then we'll discuss some options to increase that. So that's me personally, one-on-one with you on a Zoom call where we will actually answer your specific questions. Because I just don't want you to get started wrong. I don't want you to be frustrated. 30-minute personal training session for me is $197 value. So your total first year value is $2,994. You're probably thinking the economy is too unpredictable, right? We talked about how you have possibly a stock market crash or things like that. Well, actually, the system adjusts your retirement plans based upon the changes in the economy. As the market goes down, you automatically see what's the effect in there. You don't just see, but you see not only what is happening right now. You look at your retirement and you think, oh my gosh, I lost 50% of my savings. Well, you look at, what is the effects going forward? And then what adjustments can we make to do that? These are the three major uncontrollable dangers for outliving your money in retirement: stock market crash, healthcare crisis, taxes. We can account for all of those and we can see what are the effects. Let's start with the retirement health planning. We do the retirement analysis like I've been showing you, where you have this is the effects of optimum Social Security strategy, for example. And we'll look at what is the stress and risk test. How risky is it? Is it something that's high risk or what? We'll look at an optimal Social Security strategy if you have not already started taking Social Security. And we'll look at Medicare options, which you can change and typically change anytime during your retirement to see how that affect. And we'll take a look at long-term care analysis so that you're eliminating paying for a retirement planner when in many cases they don't cover all of this anyway. So the value of right now, I went out and looked, and if you were to go out and hire somebody to do this, it would probably cost you about $6,000 for them to put together a plan like I've just talked to you about. So your total first year value is $8,994. You're probably thinking taxes are too variable, right? Look at 2019. Actually, the what-if scenarios predict estimated taxes for each year in your retirement future. And as tax laws change, we will be able to see how that affects. For example, the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, all of the individual provisions of the taxes are scheduled to basically go away, to become obsolete in the year 2025, unless Congress chooses to act. Now, they don't have to do anything. If they do nothing, all of a sudden, everything reverts back to the year 2017 rules. So we have the ability in the scenario, we can run a scenario that says, what if the Congress extends them indefinitely? Or what would happen if it happened and it reverted back and the Congress didn't do anything? You can see what the two different scenarios would be like. So you're planning from a tax perspective, and also it also shows what's the effect on your retirement health plan. So we would calculate your yearly taxes, not only this year, but future years. We would calculate your required minimum distribution amount. If you have multiple sources of them, for example, maybe you have multiple 401ks and you have 401ks and IRAs where you'd rolled money from a previous 401k. So you have multiple sources. Well, each of those sources, they will send you information. They're required by law, and they will send you, this is how much taxes you have to pay from that 401k or that IRA. So the key becomes, we want to be able to, this will calculate your aggregate amount of RMD for the total amount. And then we can say, the IRS doesn't require that you take money out of every source. They can say, this is the total amount that you have to pay, but you can take it all from one. So you could pay down your poorest performing source and pay all of the required minimum distribution for that year from that source and let the others grow on. And we can show how that effects would be in your now and in the future by running it as a simulation. You have your estimated taxes for all your retirement years, align money to pay the correct tax each year, and you eliminate paying for a tax planner. Now, tax planners differ from a tax preparer, which they prepared this year. A tax planner does into the future, like we're talking about. And the value of that is about $2,000 to do that each time. So your first year value is $10,994. You're probably thinking retirement is a long time and there's always a lot of changes, right? Well, actually, our team will stay connected to you. We're committed to you for the long haul. I've talked to you about the training at the beginning and my personal 30-minute time with you. But each year we will review your plan with you. We will review it more often if you need to and you have changes or if you like to. But we will stay connected with you. We will not leave you hanging. We know that you're there now. And I'm saying my team because initially maybe you and I will be working together, but I will kind of step aside and retire but I want to make sure that you have someone that you know and trust on my team that you will be able to stay with you forever. We're in this together for the long haul. We talk about the initial training on the basics, information that is based upon your specific situation that we put into the profile that I help you make sure it's set up correctly. Fine-tune the simulations to meet your retirement dreams, but not only now, but as your dreams change, then as reality sets in. Coordinate with a total team to get multiple perspectives. Sometimes I may have a perspective, but others have other specialties. And so that will give you the benefit of the total one along with periodic reviews. Total unending team consulting, because remember, it's not just this year, it's every year going forward. I'm not even going to try to put a value on that. So the total first year value is $10,994. You put the value on which you think that's worth. Now, if we were to do an unending value of 20 years, your retirement simulator would cost you not $1,500, but $30,000 for over the life of the 20 years. Your 4-week master class would stay unchanged, as is the 30-minute personal training time. Your unending retirement plan and your tax plan, I said, let's not do it every year. Let's do it every 5 years because it would just get astronomical numbers. And you probably wouldn't do that every year. But if you did it every 5 years over the 20 years, it's $24,000 for your health retirement plan and $8,000 for your tax strategy. For your total unending value for the 20-year life of your retirement is $63,494. You're probably thinking you don't need something like this, right? Well, actually, we've talked about the many factors that you can't control, the stock market crash, a health crisis. Wouldn't it be comforting to know that your personalized retirement simulator includes scenarios like these just in case they happen? Now, obviously, I'm not going to charge you $63,494 or even $10,994. But if I did charge you $10,994 as a one-time fee for over 20 years of unending support and subscription to the simulator, and if all it did was help you avoid going broke in retirement, would it be worth it to you? If all this system did was simulate your finances for your entire retirement years, create a retirement health plan for every year of your retirement, and update it on a continuous basis every year, actually real-time updating for 20 years, would it be worth a one-time fee of $6,000 to you? If all this system did was simulate your estimated taxes of your entire retirement years, create a tax plan for each year of your entire retirement, and update it every 20 years, would it be worth a one-time fee of $2,000 to you? I had two choices. I could go cheap and sell as many as possible without being able to stack any value for you, or I could go slightly higher and dedicate more time and energy and resources to help you be successful. If you had your personalized retirement simulator today that was taking the guesswork out of your finances, what would it be worth to you, since you know your personal situation? You've already seen that it's worth a one-time fee of $10,994. And at $1,100, which is a 10% investment that is typically charged, it would still be a great deal. But because I want to help as many people as possible avoid going broke in retirement and still stack value, I'm going to give you a special offer. You will get immediate, unending access today to your own personalized retirement simulator and unending personal support from my team for a one-time fee of $797. Now that's less than 10%. If you fill out all you have to do is fill out the information on the form at the bottom and click the button, and you will have access to it immediately. But you've got two choices. You could do nothing. If you do nothing with all the information we've talked about, what do you get? Nothing. Or you could choose to take a leap of faith. Just test it out to get visibility into your retirement future so you can make the best decisions now. Simply fill in the information on the bottom and click the button. Now, I'm confident that you're going to be totally satisfied with your personalized retirement simulator and your partnership with my team. But if you're not satisfied, I will totally refund your entire $797. All I ask is that you attend the master class. You would lose access to the simulator, but I want you to be happy. I'm not interested in being you frustrated and thinking you wasted your money. So I will gladly give you a full refund of the total amount, no questions asked. I'm not going to go in and browbeat you to try to keep you and try to show you value and what you do. I'll just give you your money back. The real question is it worth the gambling a few minutes of your time to check this out? Even if only does half of what I claim today, it will pay for itself as soon as you calculate your taxes this year. I'm confident that you will help you save more than $797 in this year's taxes. So you pay for it your first year simply when you do your tax return in 2019. You're going to get the retirement simulator and a value of $1,500 in the first year. The 4-week masterclass valued at $1,297. 30-minute personal training session with me at a $197 value. You get a retirement health plan immediately for $6,000 value and a retirement tax strategy immediately for $2,000 value. And you get an unending personal consulting that is for you, whatever price you want to play on that. Your total first value is $10,994, and your total unending value is $63,494. So act today. We start the masterclass soon. Now is the time to get ready for this year's tax preparation. Simply fill in the information and click the button. This is a summary of what you're going to get. You see on the left what you're going to get. So you're going to get a $10,000, almost $11,000 value for a one-time fee of $797. And you're going to get a value of $63,000, but you're still only paying $797. Simply fill in the form and click Get Started. Thank you for your time, and I'm so looking forward to working with you, and I hope that you will be able to just take a chance and be able to just invest in yourself. Take care, and God bless.